Imagine sitting in a courtroom, witnessing a trial of a teenager who has committed a heinous crime. As you observe the proceedings, you notice something peculiar about the defendant's behavior. Maybe they're laughing, smirking, or even crying uncontrollably. You wonder what could have possibly led this young person to commit such a horrific act, and how could they show such disturbing reactions in the face of their own wrongdoing? In this video, we'll explore the cases of 4 teenage serial killers who left the world stunned by their crimes and their bizarre courtroom reactions. From a child killer who expressed no remorse to a young boy who concealed a murdered victim's body under his bed for over a week, these stories will leave you questioning the depths of the human psyche. So fasten your seatbelts as we delve into the chilling world of teen serial killers and their disturbing courtroom reactions. Can you guess which cases we'll be exploring today? Stay tuned and find out. Case 1. Mary Bell was a young girl who killed 2 young boys in the late 1960s in England. At the time of the murders, she was just 11 years old. Despite her age, the nature of the killings was extremely brutal. She strangled her victims and carved her initials into their bodies. The court proceedings that followed revealed disturbing reactions from Mary Bell that are still remembered today. During her trial, Mary Bell showed a complete lack of emotion, staring blankly ahead and refusing to make eye contact with anyone in the courtroom. This was in stark contrast to the grief-stricken parents of the murdered boys who were in attendance. They wept openly as they listened to the horrific details of their son's murders. Mary Bell's strange behavior included sticking out her tongue and giggling, which unnerved those in attendance. One of the most chilling aspects of Mary Bell's behavior in court was her complete lack of remorse for her actions. When asked about the killings, she simply shrugged and said, "I don't know." This lack of emotion and remorse was one of the reasons that the judge found her guilty and sentenced her to life in prison. As the trial progressed, more disturbing details about Mary Bell's past were revealed. She had a difficult childhood, with a mother who was emotionally distant and a father who was absent. Her mother had attempted to kill her several times when she was a baby, and her father was a convicted child molester who had been sent to prison. It's difficult to understand the motivations behind Mary Bell's actions. Some have suggested that her traumatic upbringing may have played a role. In contrast, others have pointed to her apparent lack of empathy as evidence of a more deep-seated psychological issue. One of the most haunting aspects of Mary Bell's story is the fact that she was so young when she committed her crimes. It's difficult to reconcile the image of an innocent-looking young girl with the brutal nature of her actions. It is perhaps this dissonance that makes her case so fascinating and disturbing to people even today. Case 2. Joshua Phillips was just 14 years old when he murdered his 8-year-old neighbor, Maddie Clifton, in Florida in 1998. The crime was particularly heinous, as Joshua had not only killed the young girl but had also hidden her body under his bed for over a week. When the truth was discovered, the court was left reeling from Joshua's disturbing reactions during the trial. The court proceedings revealed bizarre and unsettling behavior from Joshua. While he initially denied any involvement in the crime, the evidence was overwhelming, and he eventually confessed to the murder. What was more disturbing was the fact that Joshua had carried on with his daily routine as if nothing had happened, even after committing the gruesome act. During the trial, Joshua displayed a complete lack of remorse for his actions. He remained emotionless and detached throughout the proceedings, even when confronted with the horrific details of Maddie's death. His behavior was so bizarre that many in attendance were left questioning his mental state. One of the most shocking aspects of the case was the fact that Joshua had hidden Maddie's body under his bed for over a week. Even as her family and friends searched for her, they showed a complete disregard for human life and a disturbing lack of empathy. As the trial progressed, more unsettling details about Joshua's behavior came to light. He had a history of violent outbursts, and his family had previously reported concerns about his mental health. Some experts even suggested that he may have been suffering from a severe mental illness at the time of the murder. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Joshua maintained his innocence throughout the trial. He showed no remorse for his actions and appeared completely unaffected by the gravity of his crime. His disturbing behavior in court left a lasting impression on those who witnessed it and continues to be a topic of discussion even today. Case 3. In 1999, Eric Smith, just 13 years old, lured a 4-year-old boy named Derek Robbie into the woods in New York and brutally murdered him. The heinous crime shook the local community and left many stunned by Eric's disturbing behavior in court. Eric's bizarre court reactions were compounded by the details of his crime, which were especially brutal. He had lured young Derek into the woods and repeatedly struck him in the head with a rock, ultimately causing his death. The crime was premeditated and showed a disturbing level of planning and intent for someone so young. Eric had a history of behavioral issues and had been diagnosed with multiple disorders, including attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and intermittent explosive disorder. While these issues did not excuse his actions, they did shed light on the complex and troubled psyche of the young killer. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Eric remained largely emotionless throughout the trial. He showed no remorse for his actions and appeared to be almost indifferent to the impact his crime had on the community. This cold and detached behavior left many in attendance disturbed and deeply affected by the trial. His behavior was so unsettling that even the judge presiding over the case expressed concerns about his mental state. In the end, Eric was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to the maximum penalty of 9 years to life in prison. While he has since expressed some remorse for his actions, his disturbing behavior in court and the brutality of his crime continue to haunt those who were affected by the case.
Things just got hectic after that. What did she say to you when she saw you cry?
Case 4. In the early 1980s, a series of brutal murders rocked the quiet town of Warwick, Rhode Island. The victims were all women, and the perpetrators seemed to strike at random. The community was in a state of panic, and the police had no leads. That is until they arrested a 15-year-old boy named Craig Price. Price had a troubled upbringing, and he had already been in trouble with the law before he was arrested for the murders. But no one could have guessed that he was capable of such heinous acts. Over the course of 2 years, he had killed 4 women, and he had shown no remorse for his actions. Price's trial was one of the most highly publicized in Rhode Island's history. As he sat in the courtroom, he showed no emotion as the evidence against him was presented. The families of his victims watched in horror as he calmly listened to the graphic details of his crimes. During the trial, Price's defense team tried to argue that he was not responsible for his actions because he had a history of mental illness. They also claimed that he had been coerced into confessing to the murders. But the evidence against him was overwhelming, and he was ultimately convicted on all counts. When it came time for Price to be sentenced, he shocked the court with his behavior. As the judge read out his sentence of life imprisonment, Price laughed and smiled. He made obscene gestures at the families of his victims, and he even threatened them. The judge had to order him to be removed from the courtroom. Over the years, Price has continued to exhibit disturbing behavior. He has been involved in numerous fights with other inmates, and he has even attacked correctional officers. He has also refused to participate in any rehabilitation programs, and he has shown no remorse for his crimes. In a 2011 interview with a local news station, Price claimed that he had been rehabilitated and that he was a changed person. But his words rang hollow, and the families of his victims were outraged that he was still alive and in prison. In conclusion, the cases of Mary Bell, Joshua Phillips, Eric Smith, and Craig Price are some of the most disturbing examples of teen serial killers and the reactions to their crimes in the courtroom. These individuals committed heinous acts at an incredibly young age, leaving a trail of devastation and trauma in their wake. From Mary Bell's eerie calmness during her trial to Craig Price's chilling confession, the disturbing reactions of these teens to their crimes reveal a dark and unsettling side to human nature. These cases serve as a reminder that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places, and that it can manifest itself in the form of individuals who seem unassuming and harmless. What do you think about these cases of teen serial killers and their reactions in court? Do you believe they received appropriate punishments for their crimes, or do you think there's more that could have been done? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video informative, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Thank you for watching.